Okay. Let me know when you're ready to go.
Or could you just state your name for me so I can hear what you sound like?
Aura Morin. With a terrible accent.
Terrible accent.
I have a terrible accent.
Where are you from?
Virginia.
How
Sounds
were you
like
saying
I'm
that
from.
Virginian accents are terrible?
No, mine sounds like I'm from the north of Louisiana.
How did that happen?
My husband's from the north.
I hear a little bit of it now.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
It's not terrible though.
I mean, well.
All right, Marshall, just take one little step to your, yep, right there. Okay. So, all right, so, Laura, tell us about your dog.
Well, this is Molly. We rescued her or adopted her about 6 weeks ago, about 2 hours from Waynesboro. She was a breeder's dog and had been to like 3 different breeders. But the last breeder, she wouldn't breed with his Labrador for 3 times. And so he put her on Facebook, and a friend of mine shared her. And we saw her with her one ear and her big old face. And so we just took a chance and drove down and saw her. And she jumped in our Envoy, and it's been the best 6 weeks ever.
So we're traveling with that sign. We're asking everyone across state the 4 same questions. So I want you to try to answer them for
Miley?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see how this goes.
Okay.
So, and then I'll ask you the questions too. What's your family history for Miley?
Family history for Miley is she was a breeder's dog, and she'd never been in a home or cared for. And so her ear was eaten off by a bunch of dogs when she got her head stuck. And her family history is getting better every day. She's living a good life.
Okay, next question. Miley, what's your favorite place?
Her favorite place is in the den or at her food bowl. Much like my husband's.
All right, next question. What's in your backyard?
What's in our backyard? We have bear and skunks and possums because we live right back up to the Blue Ridge Parkway in Waynesboro. So we have everything in our backyard.
Probably very pretty.
A lot of mountains and a lot of bear. So,
are the bears dangerous?
we had one that would not leave, and so no matter what I did, he just would not leave the yard. So I had to call the police, and they chased him in the woods, and then they came running out because skunks chased them out of the woods. And so they're not scary, but it's a little unusual for you to be sitting on your front porch and a bear to walk by you, and you get a little nervous. We haven't had a bear since Miley's gotten there because they've been, slow hibernation. But they're coming out this month, so we'll see what we get.
Okay, last question for Miley. What are your hopes?
I hope she lives as long as she did in the breeding in our home, and I hope she has a tremendously happy life.
That's great. Okay, I want to ask you the questions now.
Okay?
So what's your family history?
My family history is here in Virginia. My father was...
Hold on 1 second. Just 1 second. Sorry. Yep, that's right. Can you extend it? You can extend it out a little more. Yeah, just gonna do the T so your arms don't fall off. There you go. All right. So starting from the top, what's your family history?
Born and raised in Virginia, all over Virginia. This is my favorite so far because of the mountains. Lived in Massachusetts for a few years and ran back to Virginia as fast as I could.
Which part of Massachusetts?
Worcester.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that after, because I lived up there too. Okay, so what's in your backyard from your perspective?
bears, bears, and beautiful mountains, and an old barbecue pit, and we also have bear traps that were put up in our trees. I don't know how many years ago, and there's 3 that go through the property, and they're barrels in a tree that years and years ago, that's the way people caught bear.
What did they do with bear back in the...
Eat them, skin them, and so they would just trap them and kill them.
Do you think the people in your area are more in tune with nature and the outdoors, or do you think no longer, like the people that
There's
used to
no
live
longer that... nobody had ever seen these before, and so we had to do a lot of research to find out what they were. And so they dug a hole, they bore a hole in the way up in the tree, and would stick an old 55-gallon drum in there, and then they would bait it with something sweet, and then you could hear the bears scratching on the barrels. And so that's when they knew that they were up there, and so they would shoot them for their hides and for meat. But nobody does that anymore.
Do you know how your family came to Virginia?
We've always been in Virginia. My grandmothers, my great-grandmothers all lived in either the Farmville or Batesville area. So I think we've always been here.
Were they farmers? Do you know what your grandparents did? Or?
They weren't farmers, they were miners for amethyst, and they did some farming, but not on a grand scale with cows. It was mostly pigs and chickens.
And what's your favorite place?
My favorite place, I don't know, is my home. It's very peaceful. It's very wonderful. And when my grandchildren and my husband all are there, it's the greatest place to be, because you're in the middle of the nowhere and you've got all the wildlife, but you also have the convenience of town.
Okay, last question, Laura. What are your hopes?
My hopes are that my grandchildren are able to live in a better world that's kinder, and that that people will start realizing that they need to be open to other people, to smile more, to say hi like people in the country do to strangers, and then those people will be happy enough to say hi back, and that, you know, people would put their grocery carts back with joy. You know, simple things. I don't require much from me.
That's a great answer. I'm going to take a quick production still, and should we go stay right there, Marshall?